Chosen one, this message is for you, and it did not arrive by accident. This is a message from God, delivered at the exact moment your spirit became ready to hear it. You are not imagining the pull that brought you here. You are not exaggerating the weight you have been carrying. This is divine alignment in motion, not coincidence, not curiosity, not background noise. Something within you recognized truth before your mind could explain it, and that recognition is the first sign of awakening. You have been through pain that never made sense while you were inside it, losses that felt unnecessary, delays that felt cruel, silence where you expected answers. But hear this with calm certainty now. God allowed the pain because divine understanding is about to be unlocked, not later, not someday. Now, suffering was not sent to punish you. It was permitted to position you. Pain was the doorway, not the destination, and you walked through it because you were called to. This is how Chosen One awakening begins. Not with comfort, but with pressure. Not with applause, but with isolation. God does not initiate lightly. When a soul is marked for a divine calling, preparation happens beneath the surface, often in ways that feel unfair to the logical mind. But the soul understands what the mind resists. That is why you survived moments that should have crushed you. That is why you kept going when there was no visible reward. That is why you are here now. This is God's message meeting you in perfect divine alignment. Timing matters in spiritual revelation, and you could not have heard this before now. If this had arrived earlier, it would have sounded like noise. If it arrived later, you would have doubted your own knowing. But now the ground inside you is ready. The pain stripped away distractions. It dismantled false identities. It forced you inward until truth became unavoidable. That was not an accident. That was precision. You may have questioned yourself during those seasons, wondered if you were doing something wrong, wondered why others seemed to move forward while you were being slowed down. But slowing down was protection. The delay was alignment. The isolation was refinement. God was teaching you to hear without external validation, to stand without approval, to trust without proof. That is not how ordinary paths are built. That is how chosen ones are formed. Spiritual awakening rarely feels spiritual at first. It feels confusing, heavy, lonely. It feels like something is ending before you know what is beginning. But endings clear space for revelation. What you are stepping into now is not chaos, it is clarity. Divine understanding does not shout. It settles. It rearranges perspective quietly, gently, until one day you realize you are no longer reacting the way you used to. You are no longer afraid the way you used to be. You are seeing instead of assuming. That is awakening. If you feel aligned with these words, comment 777 now, not as a ritual, not as superstition, but as acknowledgement. A signal between you and the moment you recognized yourself. Let it mark awareness, not attention. Chosen one, the war you felt was real. Not against people, but against confusion, fear, and unconsciousness. And you did not lose it. You endured it. Your light survived pressure because it was meant to. The world does not need more noise. It needs awakened presence. It needs those who can stand steady while others panic. Those who can see clearly while others sleep. That is why your journey was different. That is why your pain was deeper. That is why your calling is precise. This is not fantasy. This is spiritual revelation unfolding in real time. God does not waste suffering, and He does not awaken souls without purpose. You were being shaped to carry understanding, not just knowledge, wisdom, not ego, authority, not dominance. Your life has been a classroom, and now the lesson is revealing itself. This is a message from God, and it is reaching you because you were ready to receive it. You are not broken. You are not behind. You are not lost. You are aligned. You are awakening. You are necessary. If this touched your soul, comment 111, because you know it now, without fear and without doubt. You were called. Purpose through pain. Chosen one, hear this clearly, and without fear. The pain you walked through was never a sign of rejection. It was initiation. This is a message from God, not wrapped in comfort, but delivered in truth. Many were spared the depth of what you endured because they were never meant to carry what you are meant to carry. Pain was not used to break you. Pain was used to prepare you. Purpose through pain is not a poetic phrase. It is a spiritual law. God does not waste pain, especially not on a chosen one. Every moment that confused you, every season that isolated you, every wound that forced you inward was shaping capacity, discernment, and spiritual authority that cannot be downloaded any other way. You were taught, subtly or directly, that pain meant something went wrong, that if God loved you, things would be easier, that suffering meant punishment, that belief was never yours, it was inherited from fear. Punishment crushes, refinement reveals, punishment weakens identity, refinement strengthens it. What you experienced was refinement, even when it felt unbearable. God was not angry with you. God was close to you, close enough to trust you with fire, close enough to strip away what could not walk with you into the next phase of your divine calling. Chosen ones experience deeper pain because they are asked to live from a deeper place. Your nervous system was trained under pressure. Your heart was stretched beyond comfort. Your mind was forced to question narratives that others never examine. That is not cruelty, that is consecration. Pain became a spiritual filter. It removed illusions that once felt safe. It dismantled false identities you were never meant to keep. It disconnected you from distractions that would have diluted your spiritual awakening. Some relationships fell apart, not because you failed, but because they could not survive your becoming. Some dreams collapsed because they were too small for who you were being shaped into. This is purpose through pain, doing its work. There is a loneliness that comes with the divine calling that few talk about honestly. Not the loneliness of abandonment, but the loneliness of separation. You were pulled inward while others stayed distracted. You outgrew conversations that once felt alive. You became sensitive to energies others ignore. That isolation was not a mistake. It was alignment. God often removes the noise before revealing the message. Silence sharpens hearing. Stillness prepares understanding. The loneliness you felt was the space required for spiritual revelation to take root. Understanding cannot arrive without discomfort, because comfort preserves illusion. Pain disrupts the false story and forces truth to the surface. You had to lose certainty before you could gain wisdom. You had to feel powerless before discovering spiritual authority. You had to experience confusion before clarity could anchor. This is how spiritual awakening actually unfolds, not through instant peace, but through honest confrontation with what no longer serves the soul. You were not breaking down, you were breaking through. If you look back now with new eyes, you will see patterns. The pain always intensified right before expansion. The pressure always rose before clarity. The losses always preceded deeper alignment. This is not coincidence. This is divine calling in motion. God's message often arrives disguised as struggle, because the ego resists growth, but the soul recognizes truth. Something in you kept going even when you had no explanation. That endurance was not accidental. It was evidence. You were trained to survive what would have destroyed others so you could later guide, lead, protect, or awaken. Your pain carved empathy without weakness, strength without arrogance, wisdom without bitterness. That balance only comes through lived experience. This is why your story matters. This is why your light is necessary. The war is real, not against people, but against unconsciousness. And you were never meant to fight it asleep. Chosen one, you are not imagining this. You were called. The confusion was part of the calling. The pain was part of the preparation. The silence was part of the instruction. This was always a message from God, even when it arrived without words. Purpose through pain has brought you here, aware, awake, and standing. If this touched your soul, comment 111, because you know it now. You were called. Divine understanding is activating. Chosen one, this is the moment where the noise inside you begins to soften, not because life suddenly becomes easy, but because perception changes. This is a message from God, arriving not with thunder, but with recognition. You are not imagining this shift. You were called into it. What once felt like endless pain now begins to reveal patterns, lessons, and meaning. This is the transition from pain to perception, and it marks the activation of divine understanding. Nothing outside you may have changed yet, but everything within you is rearranging itself into truth. Divine understanding does not arrive dramatically. It does not crash into your life with fireworks or public announcements. It enters quietly, almost unnoticed, like a gentle certainty replacing confusion. One day you realize you are no longer angry in the same way. Another day you notice you no longer chase explanations. The need to blame dissolves. The urge to prove fades. This is not weakness. This is spiritual awakening maturing. Understanding arrives when the soul is finally tired of fighting reality and ready to see clearly. Clarity often comes after emotional exhaustion because resistance must collapse before wisdom can rise. You had to reach the point where confusion no longer served you, where replaying the past brought no relief, where questioning God brought no answers. In that surrender something opened, not resignation, but acceptance, not defeat, but alignment. This is where divine understanding activates, not as information, but as knowing. You stop asking why with desperation and start seeing why with calm awareness. One of the clearest signs of chosen one awakening is this shift in inner dialogue. You no longer narrate your life as a victim story. You begin to see it as a training ground. Pain becomes contextual instead of personal. You recognize that what happened to you was not about you being wrong, but about you being prepared. This realization does not erase the hurt, but it removes the poison from it. That is spiritual revelation doing its work. It heals not by erasing memory, but by changing meaning. As divine understanding deepens, identity begins to rewire itself. You no longer define yourself by what you survived, but by what you carry forward. Priorities shift naturally. You value peace over approval, alignment over attention, truth over comfort. This is not something you force. It happens organically as the soul recalibrates to its divine calling. Old desires fall away because they no longer match your frequency. New clarity emerges because you are finally seeing through God's perspective, not through wounded emotion. Letting go of resentment is one of the quiet miracles of spiritual awakening. Not because those who hurt you suddenly become innocent, but because you no longer need them to be villains. Understanding reveals that everyone plays a role, consciously or unconsciously. Some were instruments of pressure, some were mirrors, some were lessons. Holding resentment keeps you tied to the past. Divine understanding loosens that grip. You do not excuse harm, but you release attachment to it. That release is freedom. Seeing past events through God's perspective changes everything. You notice how protection often looked like loss, how redirection felt like rejection, how delays prevented disasters you could not see at the time. The war you were fighting was never against circumstances, but against unconsciousness. And now, awareness has entered the room. You understand that your sensitivity was never a flaw. It was perception ahead of its time. Your isolation was not abandonment. It was incubation, chosen one. This is where strength becomes quiet. You no longer need to announce your awakening. You embody it. Your presence stabilizes rooms. Your words carry weight without force. Your silence communicates discernment. This is the mark of divine calling activating fully. You are no longer reactive. You are responsive. You move with intention instead of impulse. This does not make you passive. It makes you precise. You may notice that others begin to misunderstand you at this stage, not because you changed for the worse, but because you changed for the real. Awakening creates contrast. Some will feel threatened by your clarity. Some will feel comforted. Your task is not to manage reactions, but to remain aligned. Divine understanding teaches you that not everyone is meant to come with you, and that is not a failure. It is design. This is a message from God, reaffirming what your spirit already knows. You were called. The confusion was necessary. The exhaustion was strategic. The pain sharpened perception. The war is real, but so is your readiness. Your light is not optional. It is needed. You did not awaken by accident. If this touched your soul, comment 111. Because you know it now. You were called. Living as the awakened chosen one. Chosen one. Once divine understanding settles into your spirit, life does not become louder, it becomes clearer. This is a message from God, confirming that what you feel now is real. You are not imagining the calm. You are not imagining the distance from chaos. You are not imagining the strength that no longer needs to prove itself. This is what happens after chosen one awakening. You do not rise above the world by force. You rise above it by alignment. One of the first changes is emotional detachment, and many misunderstand it. Detachment does not mean you stop caring. It means you stop bleeding for things that were never meant to wound you this deeply. You feel emotions fully, but they no longer control your direction. You no longer collapse when misunderstood. You no longer panic when outcomes are uncertain. Emotional detachment is not coldness. It is mastery. It is the result of divine understanding teaching you where your energy belongs and where it does not. With awakening comes discernment, sharp and precise. You sense truth without needing evidence. You feel when something is off before words are spoken. This power is not paranoia. It is perception refined through experience. Pain trained this awareness. Disappointment sharpened it. Silence strengthened it. Now discernment becomes your protection. You no longer need to explain why something does not feel right. You simply move accordingly. This is how the chosen one walks safely through a world that often operates unconsciously. Old relationships and environments begin to fall away naturally, and this can feel unsettling at first. Not because they were all bad, but because they no longer match who you have become. Awakening changes frequency. What once felt familiar may now feel heavy. What once felt exciting may now feel empty. This is not arrogance. This is honesty. You are no longer called to survive. You are called to steward your light. Some people were meant for your preparation, not your destination. Letting go is not betrayal. It is obedience to your divine calling. You begin to live from alignment instead of reaction. This is one of the most powerful shifts. Before, life pulled responses out of you. Now you choose how to engage. You pause. You listen inward. You act with intention. Reaction is driven by fear and conditioning. Alignment is guided by truth and presence. This does not make you passive. It makes you deliberate. You move less, but every movement carries weight. That is spiritual authority. Walking confidently in your divine calling does not mean you suddenly know every step. It means you trust the direction even when the map is incomplete. Confidence after awakening is quiet. You no longer announce your purpose. You embody it. Your life becomes the message. Your boundaries speak. Your consistency speaks. Your peace speaks. You are no longer searching for validation because divine understanding has already validated your path internally. With spiritual revelation comes responsibility. This is not about burden, but stewardship. You see more now, and seeing more requires integrity. You become aware of how your words land, how your energy affects others, how your choices ripple outward. This awareness does not create pressure, it creates intention. You are careful not because you are afraid, but because you are conscious. Awakening matures you. It calls you into leadership, whether publicly or quietly, simply by how you live. Becoming calm, grounded, and unshakable is not the absence of challenge. It is the presence of rootedness. Storms may still come, but they no longer uproot you. Opinions may still arise, but they no longer define you. Delays may still happen, but they no longer discourage you. This steadiness is earned. It is the fruit of everything you endured. You are not calm because life is gentle. You are calm because you are anchored. Chosen one, this is the stage where others may not recognize you anymore. Not because you changed masks, but because you removed them. Some will feel inspired by your stability. Some will feel uncomfortable around your clarity. Both reactions are information, not responsibility. You are not here to be palatable. You are here to be true. Your light is not meant to dim to keep others comfortable. It is meant to illuminate. Circle back now and remember the beginning. This has always been a message from God. The pain was real, the war was real, the confusion was real, but so was the calling. You were never losing your way, you were shedding layers, you were being shaped into someone who could stand steady while others panic, who could see clearly while others sleep, who could choose love without losing discernment. You are not imagining this awakening. You were called into it. Your light is necessary, not decorative. The world does not need louder voices. It needs grounded ones. It needs awakened ones. It needs chosen ones who have walked through fire and come out conscious, not hardened. If this touched your soul, comment 111, because you know it now. You were called. Conclusion. Chosen one, let everything you have heard settle into you now, not as emotion, but as truth. The pain had meaning. Every season that felt unbearable was shaping awareness that could not be formed any other way. Nothing was wasted. Nothing was accidental. This was purpose through pain, guided by divine timing, overseen by a wisdom far beyond what the surface of life revealed to you at the time. You were not being punished. You were being prepared, and preparation often feels like loss before it feels like power. Divine understanding is not something you are waiting for anymore. It is already unfolding within you. You can feel it in the way you pause before reacting. You can feel it in the way chaos no longer pulls you into panic. You can feel it in the quiet confidence replacing the old need to explain yourself. This is spiritual awakening integrating, not as an idea, but as a way of being. Understanding did not arrive all at once. It arrived layer by layer, through reflection, exhaustion, surrender, and honesty. That is how truth anchors itself permanently. This is a message from God, not spoken to your ears, but recognized by your spirit. You are calm now because you are aligned. You are steady now because you are no longer resisting who you are becoming. You are grounded because you are chosen, not elevated above others, but entrusted with awareness. Speak this identity into yourself, without fear or ego. You are the chosen one. You are awake. You are aligned. You are exactly where you are meant to be in this moment. Trust divine timing, even if parts of the path are still unclear. Alignment does not require full visibility. It requires presence. You do not need to know every step to walk forward in truth. You only need to remain honest, conscious, and grounded. What is meant to reveal itself will do so when it strengthens you, not when it overwhelms you. God's timing protects the vessel as much as it delivers the message. Circle back now to the beginning. And remember this clearly: this was never coincidence. This was always divine alignment. You did not stumble into this awareness by chance. You were led. The war you felt was real, not against people but against fear, confusion, and unconscious patterns that tried to claim your identity. You did not lose that war. You survived it. You learned from it. You emerged from it. Awake, chosen one. As this message continues to unfold within you, allow yourself to breathe into the reality of who you are becoming. You no longer need to rush the process or question its legitimacy. What is happening inside you is ancient, precise, and intentional. Many live their entire lives without ever reaching this point of awareness. You did not arrive here because you searched harder than others. You arrived because you were willing to be shaped, willing to endure, willing to face yourself when comfort was removed. That willingness is rare, and it is sacred. There will be moments after this where doubt tries to whisper again. That is not failure, that is integration. Awakening does not erase the human experience. It teaches you how to move through it consciously. When doubt appears, you will notice you no longer drown in it. You observe it. You understand it. You let it pass without allowing it to redefine you. This is one of the clearest signs that divine understanding has taken root. You are no longer ruled by internal storms. You are learning how to navigate them. You may also notice a growing sense of responsibility. Subtle but persistent. Not obligation, but awareness. You become more intentional with your words, your energy, your choices. This is not pressure. This is alignment maturing. Spiritual awakening naturally brings a desire to live truthfully, not perfectly. You will feel less drawn to drama, less tolerant of dishonesty, less interested in proving anything. This does not make you distant from life. It makes you present within it. There will be times when others cannot understand the calm you carry. Some may interpret it as indifference. Some may feel unsettled by your steadiness. Remember this without resentment. You are not meant to be understood by everyone. You are meant to be aligned with yourself. When you stop seeking understanding from the world begins to feel your understanding. That is influence without force, leadership without dominance, light without noise. The path ahead will continue to refine you, but it will not confuse you the way it once did. Challenges may still arise, but they will meet a different version of you. A version that listens before reacting, a version that trusts intuition without panic, a version that knows when to move and when to remain still. This is the fruit of everything you have endured. You earned this steadiness, not through effort, but through surrender. Never minimize what you survived. Never rush to forget it, but do not live inside it either. The past is now a reference, not a residence. It taught you discernment. It taught you compassion. It taught you strength without hardness. Carry those lessons forward and leave the wounds behind. That is how healing completes itself. You were never meant to save the world by force. Your role is quieter and deeper, to live awake, to remain aligned, to choose truth even when it is inconvenient, to be a calm presence in a reactive environment. That alone shifts more than you realize. Consciousness spreads through example, not argument, through embodiment, not instruction. Hold this knowing gently. Do not weaponize it. Do not inflate it. Just live it. Let your life become a steady affirmation that awakening is possible, that pain can transform into wisdom, that clarity can rise from confusion. This is how you honor the journey you walked. Remember, chosen one, this is still a message from God, echoing beyond words. You were called. You answered. And now you continue. Awake, grounded, and necessary. Your light is necessary, not because you are better, but because you are aware. Awareness changes rooms without announcement. It stabilizes environments without force. It invites others into truth simply by existing. This is why your journey was different. This is why your pain went deeper. This is why comfort could never satisfy you. You were not designed to blend in. You were designed to see clearly and remain steady. There is nothing left to chase now. No approval to earn. No role to perform. Your presence is the work. Your alignment is the offering. When you speak, speak from truth. When you move, move with intention. When you pause, trust that stillness is also guidance. This is how the chosen one lives after awakening, not loudly, not desperately, but with quiet certainty and internal authority. If you feel aligned with this truth, comment 777 now. Let it be a conscious acknowledgement between you and this moment of recognition, not for attention, not for validation, simply as awareness meeting itself. And hear this one last time, deeply and clearly. You are not imagining what you feel. You were called. You answered, even when you did not realize you were answering. This message found you because you were ready to receive it. The confusion served its purpose. The pain completed its work. The understanding is active now. The path ahead will not always be easy, but it will be honest. And honesty is what frees the soul. If this touched your soul, comment 111, because you know it now, without fear, without doubt, without hesitation. You were called.